woman lecture. It's either been called, in general, the true story of woman or the womb man lecture. Already the brother kind of took my thunder and gave you a punchline, so I'm going to have to see if I can find some other punchlines now, because he was sharing with you again one of the secrets about the true creation of Earth, woman, and what a patriarchal male society has done to try and take her away from her proper vestitures. Females in general have a lot of problems with other females. Housewives in general have a lot of problems and distrust for the working girl and the working woman. The women who work with the husbands of housewives are thought of by housewives to be the biggest threat on the planet. Not the earthquakes and tornadoes, but the woman that the man sees every day and has to work with her. We find again that most of the secretaries, co-workers, and now executives and sometimes bosses are females who are ruling their men, and the men have to sycophant in order to keep their jobs. So not only is there a problem in the immediate nuclear family, but there's a problem on the job. Women scrutinize women very, very closely. The appraisal of a woman for another woman is such that I find men pale by comparison in their criticism or critiquing of either males or females. It takes a woman to tell you about a woman. But also there is a bonding amongst females that I don't find amongst males in general outside of the sports arena and fraternal groups. It is a mutual benefit and understanding what suffering is all about. Now, it's terrible to say that all females suffer, but if you listen to some of the conversations, as I've been privileged to do so, and have shared with you conversations as I would act as a panel organization or moderator for panels of women, every woman feels in general that she is put upon or has gone through pain that nobody except another woman could possibly begin to understand, and one of such pains, of course, is the miracle of childbirth. I have heard women say there is no pain a man can endure that rivals that of childbirth, and yet I see women getting pregnant all the time and looking forward to carrying children, so I say something's wrong, you're lying to me. There must be a pleasure that comes with that pain that is undescribable, because I wouldn't go through it twice. Somebody would get killed. So, not being a female, but admiring and loving the female, I say there are certain special things that you do and have that obviously you don't quite share honestly with the male, and so I've tried to pique your scenario by researching and studying you. Let me state also at the beginning that there are many ways now that women get on top of our society. White women, especially now, dominate our society. Black women try to dominate a society which has been usurped, and I won't spend time with that because most of you are more than familiar with the history, so-called black history, Afro-American, Kemetic history, interchanging with America. But I will say this. Whether it is sexual wiles or womanly ways, the woman usually gets her way in the long run with any male. It just depends on how far she's willing to go in mind or in body. But usually knowing herself, she can get her way. Why do I preface all of this first? Because it is now getting to be almost a crime to be a true female, to be a real woman. And those that strive to be feminine, whatever that means, and to be a real woman, really catch it from others who feel that they don't want to be that type of female and a real woman. I say to you this, be what you have to be, and be it proudly, but don't be hypocritical. Do what you have to do, but do it with the understanding that your consciousness is as good as anybody else's consciousness, and if you at least do that, when you pay for it, good or bad, you will know why you are paying for it. I did research And I start off very basic. And I looked into the encyclopedias and the dictionaries, and I got the following explanation for the following words, and I share them with you. Woman, an adult female human being. Any problems with that? Most of you agree? At least we start out in agreement. Womanhood, the time or condition of being a woman. Pretty fair in comprehension, understanding? You still with me, all right? Girl, a female child or a young unmarried woman. But then I also looked up and I found out in Teutonic times, I didn't ask for this, I just found it, the word girl meant young boy. Now, that interested me. I then looked biblically, and it stated, created from Adam's rib to be a helpmeet to man. And I thought about that, a helpmeet, and I said, how do they spell that? M-E-E-T or M-E-A-T? But since man is the dominant species on earth, and since man was supposed to subject and subdue, then the meats have to go under. Women is and women are the weaker sex. We all know that. Everybody is aware of that. And I'm going to read you some reasons to prove exactly what I just stated. I mean, I saw some turnings there, grimaces. You all are aware that women are the weaker sex, aren't you? We didn't stay in agreement past 3 statements. Some of you actually believe that woman is not the weaker sex? It's going to be a long afternoon. Well, let me try to educate you as to why these are truths. Throughout the world, there are more widows than there are widowers. There are more women, 100, or octogenarians and over, than men. Well, you're looking at me. I'm telling you how I'm going to prove my statement. Just bear with me. The female body, on a worldwide consideration, retains the characteristics of youth much longer than does the male body. Are you getting the picture? Less or fewer women have hardening of the arteries than men, the incidence of ulcers in men, and again, most of the deterioration and the signs of age show less in the female body than they do in the male body. Told you I was going to prove a point. There's more heart failure and apoplexy in men than there is in women. Women can usually hold their breath without deterioration of cell structure deprived of oxygen, and much more less suffocated than men. And women can usually endure cold weather on a general basis better than men, and can adjust to heat temperatures when their thermostat works correctly more so than men. Are you beginning to see the picture of the proof of what my opening statement was? How many of you are still with me? Confusion and puzzlement. Oh, good. Women in general at higher altitudes, like in the Andes Mountains and so, can usually carry heavier loads than men because the muscle fiber is toned better, and the amount of oxygen within the cell structures is greater than that of men. The female brain not only has a finer texture and more complex organization than that of the male, but relative to overall body weight, it is 1/4 pound heavier. There are fewer female baby miscarriages than there are male baby miscarriages. And during childhood, the female is mentally superior to male because the girl of 7, usually because of the rich thyroid hormones, has a brain capacity and a body capacity that dwarfs a boy in both mind and body. They're usually taller, more symmetric, and have better brain cohesion and function than does the boy. So now you understand that I have hopefully proven to you my opening statement. Is there anybody now that disagrees with anything that I said? I didn't think you women would. And I know the fellas have just said, what in the world has gone on with that nut up there? Bear with me, okay? But by the age of 12, or when what is called puberty sets in, most of those things begin to change. So much so that by the time the men and women reach 21 years of age, the women, in suffering so much mental, physical, and nerve endurance, has a hard time competing or goes one-sided. What happens between the time of birth, puberty, and maturity of the age of 21 is where this lecture really begins. What happens is based on one word, in effect, men. It is based on menstruation. Menstruation. Many times it is pronounced menstruation. That is not correct. But one thing is, it starts with men. Menstruation. Menstruating women, in general, lose calcium, thyroxine, iodine, phosphorus, lecithin, vitamin E, vitamin B1, 6, 12, 2, 6, magnesium, manganese, iron, copper, zinc, and sometimes for some women this starts 2 weeks prior to the menses. You think about that. Calcium, for instance, stabilizes the nervous system. Phosphorus is found in all healthy, normal cells. Iodine causes the growth and maintenance of the thyroid gland, and this is why the thyroid gland in women tends to swell during menstruation. I give you another key so you don't run off and spend all your money at the doctor's. I repeat that. That's why the thyroid gland in women tends to swell during menstruation. Science has proven that the birth of congenital idiots increases when one travels inland where the soil and the food lacks iodine. Iodine is also an essential element for the maturation and maintenance of healthy female cells. What is very interesting is that not all women on this planet menstruate. Also, not all women on this planet have ever menstruated. But all women think that all women do. Let me also spend a little time with that concept. Most Hindu women do not, and definitely did not, menstruate. One of the last famous Hindu women to achieve prominence on the world stage was Indira Gandhi, who, until she started doing certain things and making certain practices as she toured the world, readily admitted she had not suffered a menstrual period until she began to do these things. Had she but followed her religious undertakings, maybe it never would have started. Most ancient African or Kemetic women did not menstruate. Not Belkis, not Apatia, not any of the so-called queens of Africa seemingly did once they began to have knowledge of self. The Oracle of the Delphi, according to the Greeks, were a group of women who pontificated and led Greece through its heyday. It was not led by the warrior men. They did the fighting. The thinking was done by the oracles, and many of the oracles were females. They are said that the oracles did not menstruate. We hear a lot of talk about the Amazon women, the Teutonic women, the Gauls, the West African Watetas, the East African Bossamans, the Andambes of the Congo. Most of these oceanic women and most of these Kemetic women did not menstruate. These women were the strong women of our history. And in many cases, they could grow to be 7 and 8 feet tall. That's why amongst the Watusi and the Watusi women, when they told you of their diets and things that used to be different, they have some of the most tall, or the tallest women and persons, in fact, on earth itself. The Old Testament said, and the ancient Hebrews said, that menstruation was unclean, and that a woman should be confined until cleansed of her issue. But understand again, a lot of that book